Let's talk about silence. Silence is a very important part as a practice and as a destination. So, as a practice, as you abstract from speaking, as you abstract from noises around you as best as possible, you are able more and more to turn your mind inwards and to deepen your practice, to improve it. But there are some key factors into this silence, because real silence is a body, an intense body, a body of life, of intense vibration that takes you over, and it vibrates. And that silence is where the dissolution of the character unfolds. But to touch this silence, sometimes it is touched by blessing, so that you have a glimpse. But to touch this silence, it is through the abstraction from sense pleasures, sense attachments, and attachment to the divine, to God. Because if it is just abstraction from sense objects, like if you jump stages, if you don't cleanse your mind, if you don't go through the stages that I put there, you want to try to jump stages to just tap into silence, just tune to silence, you will be experiencing some silence, but it's not this body of silence. It is a silence which is born by the absence of noise, the detachment that comes from sense objects. It is a kind of it is peaceful, it is nice, but it's peace in the absence of conflict, of noise. It is different. It's not an empowering silence, a silence that overthrows all your mental impressions, all your mental, the normal mental frequency. It's not a silence that you feel like you're being elevated and vibrates intensely. That is the silence that you need to tune into. And for that, it is this letting go of the world, holding on to the divine, and going through those obstacles in meditation. Eventually, this is where you will tap into. And if there is no guidance, but at this point, there must be some guidance, then that silence tells you that this is where you need to stay. Without going through those stages, what happens is you cannot stay here. So you come here and you try to come back to this. For example, you had an experience, a blessing, and you touched that body of silence, but you cannot stay there. And you will try to recreate that, and you will go to silence, go to silence, go to silence, just this movement. But that's not silence, because your impurities are still very high. And for this, the other silence, the absence of noise, is very important, because it will help you to purify your mind. It will avoid you from spending a lot of energy, so you will conserve more energy and you will need that. And the more silent you become, the more you will be mingled with the normal activities. And the more you use silence as your spiritual practice, as the background of your spiritual practice, the more deeper and deeper you are able to go. Without that silence, there's not much you can go, because too many ropes are biting you. So real silence, that body of silence, is that which gets established, or you establish yourself in it, or it establishes itself in you. It's more or less, both are at the same time. And it's a fruit of all that cleansing, all those stages you went through, all those obstacles you went through, because that was your noise exiting your mind. It was the cleansing process. And to go through the obstacles, you surely left many things, a lot of things, if not everything behind, or almost everything. For the common person to experience that level, that body of silence, it would be the most divine thing in their existence. It would be overwhelming. And nothing in their lives would ever compare to that. For the seeker of truth, as he has purged all his noise, confusions, beliefs, enough of them, not all of course, because this silence will do the rest. But here, it is living. You feel the presence. It takes you over. And this is where you sit. It is in this silence that you stay. And it permeates all aspects of what you're not, of course. And this is where dissolution starts happening. It has many names, and I will talk about it in the next ones also. But make no confusion about the living silence and the silence by the absence of noise, agitation, all these sense impressions. So to tap into this silence, it's not only detachment, it is devotion, divine love, prayer, all this. It's what makes you tap into the living silence instead of just an empty silence. Not that you cannot work with an empty silence also, but it's a far more dry road, for sure. But eventually that life has to be touched. So most of you, silence is not a very possible thing, but it is important that you practice some silence before you reach this level of silence, of course, and do some retreat. Take yourself away from your place and go to somewhere. It can be a house in the middle of nothing, or something like this, in the middle of the wild, or an ashram where they have silence, so that you can deepen your practice into a period, intense meditation in silence, so that you can have a glimpse of what is this silence and what is its practical aspect in my meditation. And that way you can make better and better choices and to improve more and more your meditation. But silence is not emptiness. Real silence is fullness, intense vibration, a body of silence, touchable, perceivable, overwhelming silence.